Today is Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. This is First Alert Weather Plus. Meteorologist Nicholas Snyder here. Lots to talk about in terms of what we can expect for this week. We do have a First Alert Weather Day on Wednesday, also one on Friday. We'll talk about what we can expect there. Tony's going to take a look back at a superstorm back in 1993. It's the anniversary of that, and of course that long-term forecast. Got to get a look at that as well. Here's a look at our radar picture, and we're seeing quite a bit of active weather to our west, but a minor disturbance that did come through earlier on this afternoon drove a few showers over the coal fields of southern and western West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. That has since kicked away. We're looking dry and we're looking good over the region. Definitely a welcome sign. Meanwhile, back to the west, this is the developing system that's going to cause a whole bunch of issues for much of the United States. Today, we're looking at a tornado threat up in parts of Illinois and Indiana, and tomorrow we're looking at a severe storm threat of our own. Here's the disturbance right here. Winds roaring very high above the Earth's surface. You see these white lines coming closer together, the diverging of air right here, a southerly wind going up to the southern Hudson Bay, a more westerly wind going up toward New York City. It's going to create that area of low pressure right over southern lower Canada. That's going to rush southerly winds in the lower levels of the atmosphere up into the center of that area of low pressure and make westerly winds aloft, kind of rotate that air, give us some energy to develop quite a bit of activity. We see high pressure, though, finally build in for the day on Thursday, but also colder conditions behind a cold front. So this is what we're looking at. Wednesday storms. Better chances of those storms coming in the evening thanks to a cold front, but there will be a round of storms a little bit earlier on in the morning as well. Everyone has a good bet at seeing this. And because those winds are so fast high up in the sky, going up to about 100 miles an hour, these storms can help move those fast winds high up well down to the Earth's surface, causing those very strong wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour. And yes, because we are seeing that rotating air, the wind's changing direction with height, it's increasing speed with height, those storms could produce an isolated spin-up tornado as well. Here's a look at that lower level wind. This is about a mile or two above the Earth's surface. We'll pause tomorrow early in the afternoon. I want you to notice this red area right here. That is very strong winds in the lower levels of the atmosphere. This is really going to help the dynamic energy, A, to produce those storms, and B, to support some rotation in the lower levels of the atmosphere right here. Notice where this corridor is, too. It's southeastern Ohio, northern West Virginia, and north central Kentucky. Where this zone intersects the highest storm energy is where we're going to be seeing a potential tornado threat at its highest. And notice where this sets up. Southeastern Ohio, right along the Ohio River, and northern West Virginia. The I-77 corridor north of Charleston, basically the US 33 corridor as well, from Athens all the way into parts of Roane County, into parts of Calhoun County as well. I think that is your highest severe storm chance and highest tornado threat before that cold front does move in and everyone sees at least a gusty wind threat during the evening. This is what Futurecast is telling us tomorrow. Again, for the rest of this afternoon and evening, we're looking A-OK and dry. Let's pause here, though. Middle of the day tomorrow, I want you to notice a cluster of storms just to the north of Ripley, parts of Gallia County, northern Mason County seeing this, and notice the kidney bean structure of some of these storms right here. You see that little curvature to that storm showing up here on the Futurecast. Same with the one that's over parts of Gallia County and Mason County. Not exact locations here on the Futurecast, but a general idea of where we could see this. This storm and that storm right there are definitely rotating storms that we will have to watch. So again, in that zone is where we're seeing a heightened tornado threat during the middle parts of the day tomorrow. Get a lull in the activity, but tomorrow evening, I'd say after 6 p.m., we'll start to see a line of storms. This line will produce those very gusty winds up to 70 miles an hour over the area, and that's going to cause a whole lot of issues for a lot of us. There is enough wind to turning with height, as well as increasing speed with height to produce an isolated tornado threat over the area as well. Kicks out of here by midnight, but again, it's something we're definitely watching. So a level 2 of 5, slight risk of severe weather. I've drawn this on the map here, this black hatched area. That's our highest tornado threat right there. The main threat with this storm is going to be gusty winds up to 70 miles an hour. Could even be a little bit of flooding behind that line of storms as well. But that isolated tornado threat, again, is at its highest for Athens, for MacArthur, eastern Jackson County, parts of Gallia and Mason counties, along the West Virginia and Ohio line right there. Point Pleasant, Gallipolis over toward Jackson County, West Virginia, northern Roane County, Calhoun County, and Wirt County. That is our best tornado threat, at least for tomorrow. Let's dissect some of what we're looking at here in the atmosphere. I want to pay attention to two things. This line right here, that white dashed line, the red and the green lines right here, and what this graph is. We call this a hodograph. This is a measure of wind. So let's first look at the left side of this image right here. This line is a line of temperature with height. You take the temperature at the Earth's surface, way down at the Earth's surface, go all the way up to 12 to 14 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and that's where you get this graph right here. This zone in between this dashed line and that red line represents energy for thunderstorms to develop right here. The bigger and fatter this area is, the higher chances you'll see at some stronger storms. So there's not a whole lot of energy for these storms, and again, this is one particular model. I'll show you a couple of other models. Meantime, where there is a lot of energy and things to work with is this plot of the wind right here. This is measuring different wind vectors from the center of this plot right here. You take the wind direction and speed and plot little individual arrows at each level of the atmosphere. When you get a classic curvature shape like this, that looks like, let's say, the hump of a camel going from left to right, that would indicate that there is good spin in the atmosphere, there's good rotation for a storm to really tap into, and there's a good amount of organization for storms to develop in an atmosphere like this. So classic wind signature for the development of a tornado. In fact, the computer is telling us the possible hazard type is a tornado here. The one limiting factor, though, is the amount of energy we have available for these storms to tap into. That's one model. Here's another model. Notice there's a bit more energy on this model. Still that classic signature right here. And when you get a long 0 to 1 kilometer stretch like this, that is a very, very deep area, very fast, rapidly changing wind with height. You get winds of about 10 knots here at the surface, up to a kilometer going to almost, let's say, 40 or 50 knots. That means there's a lot of rotation for a storm to tap into in the lowest kilometer of the atmosphere, which is important for developing tornadoes. We're seeing that on all the models. It's just a question of whether or not we can get enough energy for these storms to tap into. Probably the most impressive looking one is this, the NAM model sounding, which isn't the most accurate at most times, but the last two still showed sufficient energy for some storms to develop. But this one's the most impressive. And again, look at this hodograph. You have a whole lot of changing of wind speed with height and changing of wind direction with height. That's 30 knots of 0 to 1 kilometers here. That's the threshold for a strong tornado, and this sounding is indicate possible hazard type of a strong tornado. I'm not saying we're going to get a very strong tornado, but a spin-up tornado definitely could be a possibility for your day tomorrow, and we'll have to watch for that. With that, we're going to leave it with Emily with your zone-by-zone forecast.
We are starting off tomorrow a very warm day, already in the 60s by 8 a.m. all across the board in southern Ohio. Athens around 64, Ironton around 65, and Portsmouth at 66. Now we are looking at some scattered showers and thunderstorms passing through the area during this time frame, along with a pretty gusty wind as well. We're already seeing winds around 9 miles an hour for that sustained wind coming up from the south-southwest. Now over in eastern Kentucky by that lunchtime hour, temperatures will quickly pick up well into the 70s. Grayson around 75, Paintsville 79, and Pikeville already reaching 80 degrees, and we're still seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms across the area as well. It's going to be a pretty gusty day across the board too, continuing into this lunchtime hour. Now we may even see some pockets of sunshine here and there as well, but just a heads up that you could be seeing some rain showers during your lunch break. Now over in southern West Virginia around that 4 p.m. hour, temperatures are going to continue to rise into the 80s for a very warm afternoon. We're looking at Logan and Williamson around 81, Hamlin around 79, and again still seeing scattered showers and thunderstorms across this area as well, along with a little bit of sunshine. Still looking at high wind speeds across the region, and then as we go into that 8 p.m. hour, that's when these thunderstorms are really going to start to take off. Temperatures will slowly begin to decline, but for the most part we're staying in the upper 60s and into the 70s across the board. Sutton around 71, and Huntington around 69 degrees. And then again, that cold front is going to begin to move through this area around this time frame. We're going to start to see some more widespread rain showers and thunder across the area with some stronger wind speeds. So best to enjoy the warm weather from a safe place inside tomorrow.
Thanks, Emily. From one storm to another now, Tony's going to take a look back to 1993, where we saw not severe thunderstorms, but a major blizzard over the region. Taking a look back at 1993 superstorm. Tony, take it away.
Well, Mother Nature can be quite methodical and quite quirky when she produces big storms across our planet and in our part of the world. Case in point, the meteorological winter, December, January, February, does not house the top 2 snows of all time in my book in our area. Think back to 1950. The old timers will tell you Thanksgiving weekend was the mother of all storms, and I've seen pictures of snow drifts waist high and the bitter cold that followed that. So indeed, November in 1950 and the superstorm in 1993, the blizzard on record since I've worked at WSAZ, occurred on March the 12th to the 14th. It started as a major storm over the Gulf of Mexico, and in fact, there were hurricane-force winds associated with this storm out over the open Gulf. And then as the storm crashed through Florida, severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. All the while, cold air was pressing from the south courtesy of an upper level low pressure, cold air in the highest levels of the atmosphere. And what happened, these two would merge into the superstorm, the blizzard of 1993, with Arctic cold and snow going deep down into the Dixie states. Again, hurricane-force winds over the Gulf, tornadoes in Florida, and then there was this deep lay of snow that started in the southern Appalachians, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta picking up 6 to 12 inches in the metro area, and right up the spine of the Appalachian Mountains. A huge area. This area in blue is denoted by 1 to 2 feet of snow, and that includes our area. And the tallest mountains of the Appy Mountains, for example, down toward Grandfather Mountain, over toward the high country near Boone, North Carolina, home of the Appalachian State Mountaineers, all the way north up into New England, the tall peaks getting 3 feet or more of snow on March 12th through 14th in 1993. So the tail of the tape locally. Again, it started snowing that Friday night. I remember our female anchor, Sheila Gray, saying to me that night, I looked in your eyes and I realized this time you were being serious. And in fact, the amount of snow that fell caught Sheila and her husband off guard. And in fact, Sheila went out to the grocery store that night after the 11 o'clock show, and all there were a couple cans of tuna fish on the shelves. In Huntington, snow lay 23.5 inches, so 2 feet on a level. Charleston at 17 inches, I'm thinking that might be kind of a little underestimation, but the bottom line is we were squarely in the 1 to 2 feet range, and up into the high country, up at Snowshoe, as much as 44 inches of snow reported. Now, what was unusual about that, the winds also gusted to 50 miles an hour in the lowlands, meaning the Ohio, Big Sandy, and Kanawha Valley. So the drifts, I know I walked through a couple of drifts that were waist high, heading down to the Radisson where I was parked out for the weekend. The temperatures were in the 20s by day. You need teens to make it an official blizzard, and we were in the teens at night. A couple of events that were affected by this storm. I want to take you to this weekend back in 1993. The circus was in town down in Knoxville. Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And I can still remember pictures of the animal walk, elephants, camels, through the pelting snow. The event would be canceled. The SEC tournament during the Rick Pitino era was held over at Rupp Arena, back during the Ricky Farmer era, the Jamal Mashburn era, and Mr. Pickett from up in Fairmont was one of the prized Wildcats that season. UK would go on to a Final Four appearance and be beat by Michigan in the national semifinals in overtime. But the game was played, the tournament was played over in Rupp because the farther west you went, the less snow that occurred. So you can see Lexington had 6 inches of snow, and then you graduated that up to 1 to 2 feet as you got close to Huntington, Ashland, Ironton, Charleston, and into the mountains of West Virginia. The blizzard of 1993 on March 12th through 14th You know the adage that March comes in like a lamb and goes out like a lion? And you know the adage that always beware the Ides of March? This tells me we cannot let our guard down during the month of March, all the way till the 1st of April for a lack of snow, because sometimes we will get caught off guard. The blizzard of 1993, the topic tonight.
Hey everyone, meteorologist Dylan Goday here. We are tracking a roller coaster temperature pattern that's getting ready to settle on in here across the region. We've been watching another cutoff low that's kind of stuck itself over the Baja Peninsula there into Mexico and the southwestern United States. That's eventually going to eject towards the east, and that's going to be a driving factor behind our severe weather threat, part of the factor behind our severe weather threat there on Wednesday into Wednesday night. But that does drop our temperatures into Thursday. Notice this kind of dip in the jet stream. This is a look at the upper level heights. Great way to show you our temperature trend. When you see the darker shades of blue, that's cooler air mass that is in place. That's here briefly. Then we spike things a little bit into the weekend. Sunday should get us back into the 70s, but a stronger front in terms of the temperature drop is expected by Sunday into Monday and definitely by Tuesday of next week. Definitely seeing a bigger temperature drop here over our part of the country, and then a strong ridge builds out west. We're going to see really high temperatures there towards Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Meanwhile, we're going to be back under a cooler air mass, and this looks to be the pattern here heading towards mid to late month with shots of colder air, still some warmer days mixed in there, but definitely some shots of some cooler air. This is a look at things on Wednesday as that front moves on through the area. That will exit towards the east, and then by your Thursday, again, we are quiet, a little bit cooler, and then on Friday, another front pushes on through. That one's not going to bring us much of a temperature drop. Sunday's front, though, definitely going to be worth watching because that's going to drop those temperatures. So the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook does have us at near to below normal temperatures. I think this may be a little bit too conservative because if that front really verifies for Tuesday into Wednesday of next week, we should be well below average during that time frame. At least, again, momentarily, we will be tracking a rebound in temperatures at times. This is not going to be an all cold pattern, but shots of colder air will return. Let's not forget, we were 30 degrees above average, 31 degrees above average to be exact, just on Saturday. Blew out our record in Huntington, hitting 85. We have fewer and fewer of those days on the horizon as we will be tracking that cooler air returning into the area.
Now the long-term forecast looks a little bit more like the blizzard of 1993. We got colder air to work in thanks to that Arctic oscillation breaking up. It's becoming back to its negative phase. Same thing with the North Atlantic oscillation. We talked about that Madden-Julian oscillation, how it was on the right side of the diagram. That's the warm side. We're shifting gradually over to the cold side of the diagram, which does not spell good news for us in terms of the second half of March. And this is what we're going to be indicating: a slightly positive Arctic oscillation, and or slightly negative, I should say, Arctic oscillation, and a slightly negative North Atlantic oscillation, with still a positive Eastern Pacific oscillation to allow us to see maybe a little bit of some relief here or there. But overall, generally, the second half of March is looking colder than normal. Here's a closer look at that. Again, colder air filtering down in from Canada to start next week. And yes, we could even see a little bit of snow with that pattern change. That's not going to spell good news for us. And we'll continue to see things on the cooler side over the next 8 to 14 days. Near to slightly below average temperatures expected here on the Climate Prediction Center outlook. We're looking drier than normal, though, because most of those systems will be diving in from the north. So not a whole lot of precipitation to be felt out of a lot of these systems, which is definitely good news for us. Super 7-day forecast. We're going to take a look at 2 first alert weather days. Wednesday, of course, that 1 first alert weather day for the strong to severe storms. Isolated tornado threat is there. Gusty winds are to be expected for your day on Friday as well, up to 35, 40, maybe even 45 miles an hour in some of that. So we've issued another first alert weather day there. Weekend looking good. And then things fall out as far as the temperatures are concerned. Back into the upper 30s and lower 40s. Colder, and yes, hit or miss snow showers are going to be in the forecast for Monday. This is First Alert Weather Plus. We air every Monday. Today we're airing on Tuesday because of technical difficulties with our WSAZ Plus desk upstairs. But Regardless, we air every Monday at 6:30 p.m., giving you the latest on everything you need to know. You can find each one of us on Facebook. I'm meteorologist Nicholas Snyder on Facebook. Tony is Tony Cavalier on Facebook. Emily is meteorologist Emily Dietz. And Dylan is Dylan Goday Weather. You can also find First Alert Weather Plus on YouTube, WSAZ First Alert Weather Plus. All the episodes are posted there. Be sure to like and subscribe there. And if you missed this episode, you can find it on WSAZ.com as well. In the meantime, I'm meteorologist Nicholas Snyder. Make it a great Tuesday, everybody.